I'm calling to order the June 10th, 2024 meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all open meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 408-651-3123 with access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone in the audience that is also recording? Seeing none, we need to move into executive session.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call vote. Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. Open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body relative to the collective bargaining with the DPW union, and the board will reconvene in open session following executive session. Okay, we are reconvening in open session. Could everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have some people signed up for public comment. Mr. Daly, did you want to now? Just give us your name and your address, please.
Good evening, thanks. Tim Daly, 25 Rockland Road. I've been here for the thing that's on the agenda tonight, but I want the board to understand what else is going on in the neighborhood. At 47 Rockland Road, we have a tenant that's in there with no permits, and he's running 20 to 30 trucks a day up and down the street. It's going to be a recycling plant, supposedly. It's been a warehouse for 30 years, and they're talking about making it a recyclable plant. So what's happening right now is cans come in, they load them, the crusher doesn't work because they don't have any permits, so then they're reloading the trucks and they're taking them someplace else. So we have constant traffic. Supposedly the hours are 8 to 5, or 7 to 5 rather, Monday through Friday, and Saturday 8 to 12. I know that they've been working with a lot of the town's departments, but I just wanted you folks to know and what's going on the board, because they're not adhering to the hours. They're running from 6:30 in the morning until sometimes 10 or 11 at night. And we've counted, some days it's 30 trucks a day that are just going up and down. They're taking the cans, they're putting them in other trucks, and then they're taking them someplace else. So I just think they've been down there for a couple of months, and they've redone the road. It's a wetland. They've added onto the road. They've widened the road. They've done a lot of work. I know other departments know about that, but I just thought it was important that you folks know actually what's going on. If we're going to have that, and we're going to have the condos, then that neighborhood is going to become pretty unsafe pretty quick. So I just think it's important that we know the full scope of what's happening and what's in that neighborhood. So I just wanted to let you folks know as to what's going on, okay?
Thank
All
you
right,
so
any
much.
questions?
Can we have someone look into that?
Through the chair, I know DDIS has been addressing a number of issues relative to that
They have.
property. They're currently, it's currently under review. I know they had discussions with town council relative to the use of that property. But I will check into that and
Okay.
and get an update or
Thank you.
have someone provide you with.
They asked us to start calling, but now they've asked us to stop because they get it. I know last Saturday there was 48 calls into the number here, and just we leave our message on the recording just saying, hi, this is Rockland Road, and we have a truck at whatever time. We're now logging the number of trucks because that's what they asked us to do. So, but as of last Saturday, there was 48 calls to the town hall. So it is an issue. I don't know the safety of the trucks, the drivers. We don't know anything about that, but I know just about every department up here is working on it. I know that. So just thought that you guys might want to know what's going on. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Through the chair, is that a permitted business currently?
It is my understanding it is, but we will follow up on that.
Okay, thank you.
Not to interrupt, but there are no permits. They have not been issued yet. So,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
So through the chair, can I just ask if there haven't been permits issued and it is a usage that requires permits, can we issue a cease and desist?
I was just going to offer that. I would think if a permit was required and they didn't have it, there would have been a letter of enforcement already, cease and desist. But I'd have to check into that to get a status report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Largess, you had signed up for public comment. Would you like to make a comment or would you like to hold?
Yes, Danny Largis, 39 Perry Place. I spoke with Mr. Daly, and I did submit a letter to you people regarding 16 Perry Place, and that was something that came to my attention after, and I sat there one night, and it was like 9:30 at night, and the trucks kept coming in and out, in and out, and so I can only imagine what they're doing during the day if they're doing that at night. So that might be another point to put in the letter to the state, is that we now have a industrial area with tractor trailers in and out all day. So, but I did speak with Mr. Daly. He reached out to me and asked me what I thought, and I told him to come up here and talk to you people.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We're moving along to presentations and public hearings. We have a public hearing for the package store. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Make a motion to open the hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Is there someone here for the hearing?
I think they're
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, good evening, board. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. My name is Matthew Porter. I'm the attorney for VR Patel LLC. Along with me at the remote hearing is Rohit Patel and Ravi Patel. Rohit and Ravi are two of the principals of VR Patel LLC, which is under agreement to purchase mass discount liquors. So before the board, this is the transfer of the license related to the sale of it. There are no major anticipated changes to the business whatsoever. No changes to the hour, the layout, the structure of the building, none whatsoever. So it should be a very smooth transfer. Both of these individuals, as well as their other partner, are very experienced in the liquor industry. Rohit and his other partner each own a liquor store. Ravi's grown up in the industry. He's been training at his father's store. All three of these individuals are alcohol tip certified. In addition to the transfer of the license, they are financing the purchase through Rockland Trust. So we would be asking for the board to approve the pledge of license as well as the transfer of license. So with that, I can certainly open up to any questions the board may have. I'm happy to answer them as well as Mr. Patel's.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to be heard regarding this? Seeing none, do the board members have any questions?
I make a motion to close the hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we vote to approve the transfer of the license as requested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And sorry to interject, but if the board could also just approve the pledge of license, the ABCC gets a little fussy about that. So it just needs to be on record as well, if you wouldn't mind.
I'm sorry, what did you need?
There is a pledge of license as part of the application to Rockland Trust. So that needs to be approved as well as it needs to be approved on the record in addition to the transfer.
Hold on, I'm just checking on that for a minute.
Okay,
It says pledge of license too.
Does it have to be a specific, oh, it's on there?
Yeah, it's checked off on the application.
Oh, it's checked off, it's on the application, so you can take that vote.
oh, okay. So is there a motion on the Pledge of License?
Make a motion that the board approve the pledge of license?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is yes as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
We're moving along to 7A, departmental items. It's the request of a vote by the chair, or the fire chief, sorry.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Board members have any, this is a continuation from the last meeting. Do board members have any questions? I know we said there were some questions that were submitted.
Yes, and thank you, Chief. We saw the answers. Appreciate that. Can you address the issue of minimum staffing? I think you did address it when we asked the question. Could you just do it for the record here, too?
Sure. So beginning last year and as of today, our minimum staffing right now is 9. That's what it's set at. So one of the things that I think it's important to understand, and I tried to, I stared at this for about 8 hours, at some point. So one of the things that I want to make clear is that there is no intention operationally that we would even be in a position to, as people retired, just say, we're not going to hire a firefighter. We're not going to have firefighters, we're going to hire EMTs. Because the department would not be able to function or operate that way. So at a minimum, based on what our minimum staffing is now, we would need at least 9 firefighter EMTs or paramedics on the shift. Right now, I'm in the process of filling what is our current authorization of 11 per group. I'm in the position of, we just extended some conditional offers last Friday. So I'm trying to fill those positions with firefighter EMTs and paramedics. What I'm looking to do is, as we move forward, I believe that there is a role within the department for this type of position. As I've said to the manager before, in a utopian world, it would be great to be able to advertise and be flooded with resumes, for firefighters and paramedics and sort of have an abundance to choose from. That's just not the case. A lot of young people coming out of high school, coming out of college, they're just not seeking jobs to be a firefighter. So we are trying to give ourselves options in order to be able to properly staff the department. Now, it's not that we don't have those options with them being a Group 2 employee. And that was sort of covered in here as well as one of the questions. For me and for the members of the department, it just basically becomes, it's an issue of parity, where you have EMTs and paramedics who are public safety workers being in the same vehicle going on calls, but one is in a different group. And until we address, and in order to even address the IOD portion, we would have to address that with the adoption of a law as well. It's just really one of parity. So it's not that we couldn't try to do it. I just think that it's the beginning of a divide in an organization, and we've tried really, really hard over the years to close some of the gaps that we've had that have previously divided the department. And this, to me, is just one of those areas where it could potentially open up again. Again, I think, even in conversations with the deputy and, again, the town manager, I think we're always going to try to seek to get a dual role person. But Mr. Chambers has asked this question before as we've come up here for new staff. He's asked about the hiring process, and essentially the root of the question that he was asking to is, what are we doing to hire the best possible candidate and not just hire for the sake of making a hire? Okay. And that's sort of where the candidate pool has become. We always seem to squeak it out at the 11th hour, but I don't want to be faced with a situation down the road where we really don't have a viable candidate and we're really going to roll the dice on somebody because it's we probably wouldn't hire this person if we had other options. I would rather be able to have a plan B to go to say, okay, if it fit into this situation where we had enough dual role people and we were able to absorb a single role, maybe that's the route we go. So for me, it's just about options for the future. It's about thinking of alternative ways to staff the department, but also keeping parity amongst the members in mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair, if you were to look at the best candidate on that and look to offer it, would you consider contingent on becoming the firefighter or whatever license they don't currently have? I know when you're looking at new hires especially, there's contingencies upon completing certain levels of education on that. Is that something that you would consider with this role?
So here's where it gets a little more difficult and it becomes somewhat of a contractual issue. Right now, when we hire people with a condition of employment that they become a paramedic, they are already enrolled in paramedic school, which means they're footing the bill for that. It becomes different when we hire a candidate and then once they're in employ of the town to turn around and say, as a condition of employment, we want you to go to paramedic school. Now the town is in a position where we would have to, because we're making it mandatory, pay. That's currently not addressed in the collective bargaining agreement. The department historically has never paid for a member to go to paramedic school. I'm not saying that can't happen in the future, but that's just something that has never happened. But the way that we sort of, for lack of a better term, get around it now is that when we advertise, and if you look at our job ad, it specifically says, we will only be accepting paramedic candidates who are enrolled in paramedic school, and typically the ones we look at, they're sort of in the middle or close to finishing. We're basically just saying, as a condition of employment, we want you to finish what you've already started, versus we hire you and now make it mandatory. We're on the hook for that compensation.
But, okay, so I guess maybe I didn't make it clear, but if you were to hire someone with that paramedic role, would you ever, as a condition of employment, look for the firefighter role to be added?
I don't think that, so I understand what you're saying. I don't know that we would necessarily make that as a condition of employment because, again, I think just looking at it from the candidates that would apply for a single role position are typically people who may not want to be firefighters, because if they did, they would just apply for one of the jobs that we have open. But I think that, as I stated in the question or in the answers, I think that there is room for somebody who maybe didn't think about becoming a firefighter. They come on, they've been here a couple of years, they kind of get the bug a little bit, and they say, geez, you know what, I think I'd really like to transition over there. And then when an opening becomes available, they move into the dual role position, which would then allow us to backfill, either try to now backfill with a dual role, or if we can't, backfill with a single role. But typically the person, at least in my experience, the person that's going to take that single role job is somebody that's not necessarily interested in being a firefighter. I see us always trying to find dual role people. But in the event that we can't find dual role people, as the job market gets tougher, this just gives us an option.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, so through the chair, thank you for answering. I know I peppered you with a lot of questions.
No, that's okay.
Previously. It was very helpful for me. I did have a couple follow-up questions as I was reading that or listening to my colleagues. The first is that, is there a position right now that this would apply to or is thought to apply to in the next year? Because what I'm trying to figure out is if there's no thought right now to transition the staff or the department over to a separate standalone EMS and then a firefighter, EMS, or paramedic, why we're doing this now versus when that is going to actually be contemplated if there's no thought of it right now.
So the answer to that question is no, there is not anybody that it's going to affect right now. The reason that we're dealing with it now is because there was a chance that it was going to. But someone internal did take the EMS coordinator's position. If we had to go outside like we did the last time when we filled that position, this would have applied. And I was also asking the board to consider this now because we are in the process of hiring and we weren't 100% sure that we were going to have enough applicants to fill the 3 current vacant positions that we have. Although we have conditional offers out, it's still pending background investigation, medical physical, PAT exam, and statistically, someone is going to flush out of that process. So there is not an existing employee in the department now that this affects. It was just, again, I'm trying to plan and I'm trying to give myself options as positions, become available.
Just one more question. So Chief, when you hire, and you're just saying an EMT, not an EMT paramedic?
This position would be a paramedic.
Okay,
I say both only because that's how the law reflects it.
okay.
If we were to do a single role position, it would be paramedic only. We would never hire a basic EMT as
Okay.
a single role.
So would those individuals, would that position have a lower starting salary because they're not a firefighter also?
I will say, we are currently at the table negotiating with the union, but I would just say conceivably yes, because it's not a dual role position, but that is being discussed currently at the table with the union.
To that end, can I just ask, has the rank and file or union leadership been asked their opinion on whether creating a group 4 for everybody is what they would foresee that they want for their members?
Yes, I think that, the union, the conversations that I've had with union leadership is that parity with the group 4 would be their preference.
Do board members have any questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we vote to accept the act relative to the retirement benefits of emergency medical technicians by the fire chief. In other words, Chapter 467.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The chair is a yes as well, so it passes.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
We're moving along to 7B, the Information Technology Department, a request, a vote for surplus.
Madam Chair, I know, excuse me, our IT director is participating remotely. So Mike, if you want to join us and just explain your request?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. We have a number of old monitors that we no longer need. They're older technology, small screen sizes. We've been able to replace them with larger and newer monitors. So now we have a collection in the basement. And what we'd like to do is declare them as surplus. In addition to that, I was hoping we might be able to offer them to the community. Say we have these number of monitors available if anybody would like to take them, rather than going out and recycling them, and any leftovers we could go ahead and recycle.
Do board members have any questions?
So, through you, Madam Chair, I like the idea of offering them to the community. However, I'd like to see that there's some process, equity process, to make sure that they're going to maybe community members who have lower income or limited means. Is there a way to work with Auburn Youth and Family Services to provide the monitors through them to be distributed?
I've talked to Mike about this. I'd be happy to have a discussion with AYFS to see if we could work something out through the distribution of those monitors. My concern was, and Mike tells me, that the monitors provide no value to the town, given their age, although they may be useful to some of our residents in our community. We offered it to the schools. They have no interest in them. So rather than throw them in the dumpster, we thought maybe they could be well-served by some of our residents. So yes, we'll have that discussion. Maybe we can come up with a distribution method that would open up the door for those individuals in true need of equipment such as this.
Are there any other questions?
Is there a quantity? It says a number of. I don't know what we're actually voting
Yes.
on.
Sorry, I counted them up. We have 51 monitors currently.
Thank you.
And Mike, what are the age of those monitors?
At least 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yep, so with the idea of gifting them, the town has no responsibility after that. They are electronics. If they get plugged in and cause other damage, we are completely severable from that, correct?
Yeah, we would be exempt from that, and we could put a disclaimer on that.
Okay.
But the board would need to vote to declare this surplus. That will allow us then to have this discussion with AYFS.
Before that, are there any other questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the board vote to declare surplus property for the 51 monitors that Mike has mentioned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Great,
Thank you.
thank you. So moving along to number 8, communications, we have none. There are select board general items. We have a common victrolas license for the new owners of Friendlies. Are they on the call? They don't have to be on the call.
Yes, hi, good evening.
Hi.
My name is John Janeth. Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Selectmen. I also have 2 Director of Operations with me as well, Andrea Bergeron and Mike Smollett.
Great. Do board members have any questions?
I do not.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the board approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Thank you so much for joining us. You are all set.
Thank you.
Moving
Thank you.
along. Thank you. We are at Select Board General Item B, the Housing Production Plan. Do board members have any questions?
Mr. Kazanovich, can you address the benefits to the town for adopting this production plan as referencing 40B projects?
So, and I may turn to Adam to identify, he's much more well-versed than I am. But we have a 5-year plan now that kind of sets a roadmap and a guide for the town to follow in terms of a number of housing issues, affordable housing, and things of that nature. It addresses 40B issues as it relates to safe harbor, and I know that the board had some concerns about that. I know Adam called the state. The information we received from the state leads us to believe that those numbers are counted once an occupancy permit certificate is issued as a result of a project being completed. Although there is some uncertainty as to whether or not all of the units are recognized or by building. So that's still kind of unclear, but we know the trigger is occupancy. So in a project like Eastland Partners, where the build-out is over a 2.5-year period, where occupancy permits are going to be issued on a completion basis, we believe that those numbers will be counted once those certificates are issued. I think Emily made a presentation to the board and highlighted the benefits of the housing production plan. Unfortunately, she was unable to make it. We didn't receive any questions from the board other than the safe harbor ones. But Adam is here, and I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Board members have any questions?
When you say safe harbor, you're talking about the moratorium?
Yes.
And that gives us a 2-year waiver to figure out how that production's going. Do we have to file for that? Is that
I
something
think
that?
we have to file for that, and the state has to process, they have to acknowledge that and send something to us in terms of verification.
Good evening. The first step for Safe Harbor is to have a active, approved housing production plan. Without that, there's no talk of Safe Harbor. We need to have this plan in place first. And then the state certifies the affordable housing. So whenever they certify our housing, then we could talk to them about Safe Harbor and make sure that that's where we line up. But the first step is to have an active housing plan.
And we still, you mentioned we don't have the clarity. It's occupancy, but we're not sure if it's for the whole project or each building.
Correct.
But if we assume it's each building, do we know when we'll hit our threshold?
Not the precise number. We're supposed to have 35 affordable units a year to be Safe Harbor for 1 year, assuming we have a housing production plan in place. And I would want to confirm that with the state. The state is the one who would decide if we're meet Safe Harbor or not. And then if we have 70 units, that would be good for 2 years.
And with the Eastland Partners, once one building is fully occupied, if we were to assume that whole building counts towards it,
If that's how they certify the project, there's about 30 units per building, give or take. I don't have the exact numbers. There's 326 units total in about 10 or 12 buildings. So
and can we look for that safe harbor in an incremental thing, or do we have to wait? Because if we can get 70 units, do we wait for 70, or do we?
the state wasn't going to give a specific answer. They weren't clear on any of those details. Regardless, we need the housing plan first anyways.
Thank you.
Are there additional questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the Auburn Housing Production Plan as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Moving along to proclamations and recognitions, we have none. There are some gift acceptances. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the town accept the gift from Janice Shogren, a $50 gift to the fire department in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
I make a motion that the town accept the gift from Central One Federal Credit Union, the gift of $250 going to the summer camp. And we accept these gifts in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
For discussion?
The central one.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry, central
I
one?
just skipped to this one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. Second, okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
I make a motion that the town accept a gift from Patricia Maher of approximately $1,300 to be, for a park bench to be installed at Pappas Recreation Complex in memory of her husband, Kevin Maher, and this is in accordance with Mass General Law 44, Section 53A.
Second for discussion.
Certainly.
I believe we asked about what that plan would look like on the maintenance and aspects, and I know there's very little maintenance. Were we ever confirmed that the town has no liability? Like, again, we're gonna, if it were to deteriorate and we get rid of it, we're not looking to replace that, correct?
That would be correct. So there would be, and we'd have to establish a policy. I'm going to suggest that the Parks, Cemetery, and Rec Committee establish a policy for donations similar to this going forward. So it's clear and concise what the expectation is, what the obligation is for that bench in perpetuity. So as it stands now, this is a standalone bench. It was spec'd out in such a way that it fits into the landscape with the other benches, requires minimal, based upon its composite, minimal maintenance. But with that being said, the life expectancy should last for quite a long time. I would say that if that park bench were to be vandalized or anything, it'd be covered our insurance policy anyway under vandalized coverage. But the composite of this bench is going to last for my lifetime anyway.
I absolutely love the idea of it. I just want to make sure that we have a policy and we're consistent with that. And, definitely grateful to Ms. Maher and for her donation. So,
Yeah.
If I could ask Mrs. Kavanaugh to amend her motion, for anything over 500, we usually ask that a letter be prepared for the chair's signature. So if you wouldn't mind doing
So
that.
I would amend the motion so that it include the letter, the vote to approve a letter to be sent to Mrs. Maher.
no,
Okay.
I can second it. Okay, second.
Can I just ask that we further amend the motion to make it very clear that that we're accepting this gift through the useful life of the bench and not beyond?
So why don't you say it? And then that's the motion, okay?
Okay. So, yeah, so Ms. Kavanaugh is accepting the amendment that the bench is being accepted through its useful life and not beyond.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We have a discussion and a potential vote on summer meeting schedule. We do have some things coming up in July and August. So the town has recommended the following dates. Does anybody?
So, Madam Chair, if I could,
Certainly.
I checked once again with our financial advisor on the timing of our bond issue. They are suggesting a select board meeting vote on July 22nd because the sale date of the bonds is scheduled for July 15th. So the board could choose to either have its July meeting on the 22nd, or they could stick with the 15th, knowing that they would have to have a meeting to address one item on the 22nd. Your schedules may not, I don't know where your vacation schedules are, but it may conflict with the 15th. It's a busy time of the year. So the 22nd may make sense for our meeting date in July. But I'll leave
Board
that.
members have any
So,
suggestions?
yeah, not that you guys need to hold up because of me, but I will not be here for the 15th.
So I think then the 22nd would certainly work if it's okay for everybody else.
And just a note on the August 19th, I'll likely have to join remote because I will be on vacation.
Okay.
From the car again?
Yeah, from the car again, exactly. There's no internet where I stay.
That's dedication. I'm going to enjoy my time away and I will not join remotely.
And can I just ask, is this in addition to a second June meeting? Or are we
Yes,
not-
no, we'll have a second June meeting, yes.
So is there a motion?
Make a motion that we hold 2 summer meetings, one on Monday, July the 22nd, and one on Monday, August 19th. And we are subject to recall of the chair if there is any urgent business that needs to be done.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well, so those summer meetings are set. We have the selection for members for the wage theft subcommittee. Do board members have any questions or comments?
So my only question is, have we advertised for community members yet?
So
When do we anticipate?
I think we wanted to wait until the board was reorganized. I think that was my recollection. Now that it has, I think the discussion needs to be, and I don't recall if they set the composition of the committee with so many community members, board members.
So I don't think we established how many committee members there would be.
I think we discussed makeup of certain groups being included on it, but not necessarily how many of each.
Yeah, or attempting to get a broad range of community members from different professional backgrounds.
So would we like to advertise for members and see what we get back before we set a specific number?
Did we want someone designated from the BOS to serve on that committee? Do we want one from the Finance Committee, one from the Board of Selectmen, and the rest community members, or?
I would like to see us have somebody from the Chamber of Commerce or somebody from the business community who might have an interest in that. I think it's really important that we have both sides of the equation discussed.
So can we make a motion for a committee to advertise for 5 to 7, with one or two being from the select board, one being from the finance committee, if we think that's appropriate? I just want to make sure that we're moving forward on this. Seems like going on forever.
Would we advertise, we would advertise for, do you want a total of 5 to 7 members?
I think a total of 5 to 7. Hopefully, we get a wide range of candidates that have the background we're looking for, and then that way we can go up to 7.
So,
And if not, we have the fallback that we can settle on 5.
okay, and then, but in addition to that, you want one from the Finance Committee, one from the Board of Selectmen?
I think in addition to that, yes.
Okay.
Or it can be 2 from the Board of Selectmen if there's more. To be honest, I'm interested in serving as a person that brought this forward. But if there's another member, I think, just from the naming committee, it helped to have 2 board members organizing.
Make a motion that we advertise for the positions, community members, and strongly recommend that we have a member of the Chamber of Commerce or someone from the business community who would have some knowledge of this. 1 or 2 from finance, depending on what they would like, and 1 or 2 from this board. And we would advertise 5 to 7 members, if that's not too much.
Purposes of defining and establishing a bylaw, correct?
No, for the
Not
purpose
all?
of addressing wage theft in Auburn. It does not have to be a bylaw.
So it could be a policy, it could be a bylaw.
It was my recollection that I thought there was a suggestion that this go to town meeting.
So the initial concept and belief was that recommendation was for a bylaw that got voted by the board but did not go anywhere. And then when we had our conversations here, when I brought it up again, we were talking about a bylaw, but it was brought up that there are other avenues that it could be a select board policy, it could be a bylaw, and we wanted to give flexibility to that committee to decide what worked best for Auburn, even if they recommend nothing come forward. So it could be a bylaw or it could be a select board policy.
It could just be a recommendation for contract language.
Yeah.
Standard contract language to be inserted in any contract so that we know what we or the people bidding for the work knows what is expected of them.
Was that a motion?
That is my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We're moving on to 10. Oh, I know.
Madam Chair, 10A is going to be
Push to the next meeting.
postponed.
Yep, so 10B, I'm going to hand this over to you, Mr. Kazanovich.
So I believe at the last meeting, we presented a draft letter to Mass Housing. There were some minor edits made to that as a result of some dates. In addition, I've included in the packet a one-page letter I received from the neighbors addressing their concerns. I noted that as an additional attachment in the letter to Mass Housing. That has been provided to you. So we would need the board to vote this draft, it's presented as a draft, it will be converted to a signed document upon approval by the Board of Selectmen.
I'd make that motion.
Are there any questions?
No, I think it
Okay.
was very well done. That doesn't mean others don't have questions.
Mr. Largess asked to be heard on this, so I'm going to allow him to come up.
Danny Largess, precinct, 4 to 39 Perry Place. Again, I'd like to see if, with the investigation of 47 Rockland Road, that be added into that. I did not drown you people with the 96 flood pitches that I have. I was sending them directly to the state. Along with another letter he asked me to do in the meeting that we had down there. He told me to feel free and gave me his card and said, submit it to the town and submit any other information. So I do have, I think it's 96 letters of how bad the flooding gets, and it's right up to the road. And again, Mr. Daly had brought up the point with the tractor trailers and the box trucks zooming in and out of there. I sat with the fire chief and we came up with the figure because the developer was wrong on the car count. And we used the developer's math, and it was over 2,000 cars back and forth a day, not counting delivery vehicles, trash trucks. I mean, you saw what happened when the cars were down there and the trash truck tried to get down. That was a horror show. It's just a bunch of things, and I hope all of these are added into the letter. And is there a possibility the neighborhood can get a copy of that letter when it goes off to the state?
Through the chair, I would suggest that because we received a one-page listing of the complaints, that additional complaint be added on your submittal to the town.
Okay.
If the board chooses to accept that additional item. Yes, we'd be happy to provide a copy of the letter once it's submitted to Mass Housing.
I'll amend my motion to include the request from Mr. Largess, that be included as the manager suggested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The
Mr.
chair-
Largess, can you get that to me tomorrow, that addition?
Well, I'll see if I can get it to you tonight. How's that?
That's good.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Kazanovich, when is this due?
So the due date is the 28th, but I don't want to mess with the U.S. mail. I'd
Oh,
like
right.
to. I'm going to reflect the vote of the board tonight.
All right.
The letter's going to be dated today. I'm just going to take the word draft on there and include the new remittance with that one item, and we'll get it in the mail probably tomorrow.
Great.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Boyd.
You want this, Danny?
Moving along to number 11, we have no table items. We do have 2 member items for discussion and potential votes. I think both of these were for Mr. Carpenter, so I will allow you to explain.
I always like to be allowed to explain. So at last meeting, you know, I know we've been very good about moving items up, but the president of the Friends of the Auburn Public Library sat here through, you know, a good 2 hours of the meeting. And it just seems like, and as I was walking in, I saw a troop of Boy Scouts walking out. And it just seems like those agenda items are very quick. If we could just create, like we did with the departments, right after public comment, let them get in, say what they need to say, and let them move on with their day, I think it would be a great improvement. And then we wouldn't have to sit here and say, oh, who's in the audience? We would already have slotted them on the agenda.
Board members have any questions? Do we always know who is going to be in the audience for community organizations?
We do, because they're applying for a license or they're applying for something, a fundraiser.
I guess in the case of the Scouts tonight, they were just here to observe and didn't have an
Right.
agenda item. But typically, we will know if they're asking for an agenda item.
Right, yeah, they, when they're doing their can drives or their yard sales like they did in, over Memorial Day weekend, we knew that they were coming. I mean, when they're just coming to observe for their badges, if they want to be on, I mean, that's great, but if they don't, and they just want to observe, but I just think it makes it much easier for those folks. You know, we had the night at the races, folks from St. Joseph's, we've had any number of scouts, we have the women's club for the duck race. It would just make it a lot, I think it would make it more manageable. So that's why I'm asking for that.
Can I just ask one question? I know that, so in this meeting agenda, we have public hearings, and I know that public hearings under state law have to be advertised at a specific time. Does it make sense to, like we did with the departmental items, to put it after any public hearings, since public hearings have to be advertised for a specific time? So if there's no public hearings, it would go public comments, community organizations, department items. If there is a public hearing, public hearings would go first, and then the community organizations and department items.
We can certainly slot the public hearings after this. I mean, it's pretty quick. It's just somebody deciding, is the public meeting at 7:15 or at 7:30? I mean, it's not, or in our case, 6:45 and 7 o'clock. It really shouldn't be a difficult thing. These guys are going to be in here, they're going to be in it now quickly. To sit through some of these public hearings, they're going to be here for another 2 hours. That defeats the purpose.
I'm supportive of moving, of putting them specifically on here. I just want to make sure that we're not getting ourselves in any trouble with the fact that if you advertise a public hearing for a certain time, you cannot start it before that certain time under state law.
So, through the chair, I do think right now they're listed at 6 o'clock. And they're not individually, so each one will get pushed back depending on the previous one. So I think if they're still listed at 6 o'clock, it doesn't matter. I mean, we don't say 6:05 and hold the Pledge of Allegiance for it. So I think we still should be good. with
We
it.
can always start a public meeting late. I mean, 3 of us served on the planning board. I don't think we started, I know Oxford used to literally stop a hearing and start a hearing and then go back to the first hearing. I certainly don't want us to adopt that silly practice. It's, anytime I've ever, I mean, I've served on a lot of land use boards, you just slot it in, you can always start them late. It's not a big deal. And this isn't going to take, I mean, we, on average, have one a night. It's a 5-minute, 10-minute thing. So if they start at 6:45, it shouldn't be a problem, or whatever time the board decides to do it.
Like I said, I'm supportive. I just want to make sure we don't run risk of causing unintended consequences with our timing and what we put on here for public hearings.
I will miss the audience if they have an opportunity to leave earlier, but
Well, they're welcome to stay.
I am supportive of that as well.
Is there a motion then?
I would make a motion that we adopt a change to the agenda and create a community organization section that will follow the first public comment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Moving along to 12B, a motion and potential vote.
Yeah, so, we've had now 3 local initiative petitions, and we definitely don't have a policy. And I think from a staff standpoint, from a resident standpoint, from a board standpoint, it just makes sense that we create a working group to try and come up with a LIP agreement. I have done some research. Some are current, some are very current, some are not current, but it would be helpful if we created this committee, and not a committee, but a working group, and try to get that taken care of, so that obviously it will come back to the board, because it would be a board policy to make sure that it would meet what people would like.
Members have any questions?
I think it's a good idea, Dan, to do this, especially now that we have our housing production plan, which gives us some, a little bit of power when it comes to these 40B projects. All right, at least we can address it. So it's a good idea.
So just to be clear, we're asking the town manager to create a staff-appointed working group to develop a policy to bring before the board.
No, it will be a working group comprised of board members and staff members. We need to see it from both perspectives.
Okay, so who is doing the appointing?
It's a working group. So I take it
So-
as
so-
the manager and DDISA, we want X person there on the working group. We get together and we say, who would like to volunteer?
Actually,
The only exemption in open meeting law to working groups are staff-appointed working groups that can consult the staff that, under their normal authority, would be advising the board. You cannot create a working group that can meet outside of the open meeting law and subvert that, just because we want to not hold. So either we're creating a committee that is being appointed and is going to create a policy that can then be brought to the board, and they're going to notice their meetings and they're going to be held publicly, or we're going to have staff appoint a working group. And we can ask them to include these members, but we cannot mandate it. And then he's doing so under his authority as town manager to bring policies forward. I want to make sure that we're not getting ourselves in trouble with another open meeting law issue, because I don't want to have to go to do another training.
Actually, I have some questions and some concerns. I think each LIP is kind of its own agreement, and they all come with like different things that we're asking for. And I would be concerned if we put forth a policy that said this is the only way Auburn will do this, and you either like, I think it opens us up for developers turning around and just straight up going to the state because they don't like what's in our policy, and we lose out the opportunity to negotiate anything. So that would be my concern about putting forth a policy, a board policy on that. Because obviously board policy is searchable. So any developer or any attorney that was working for the developer would look at it and could say, like, they're pretty inflexible on this, and why even bother going to the town when we know this is what they're going to say and they're inflexible on it. So we're just going to skip over the whole section and just straight go to the state.
Well, first of all, I didn't anticipate the working group not posting a meeting, so I'm not interested in going around the open meeting law. I think I'm probably the only person sitting here who's served on a master plan committee and nobody showed up, but they were done in public. So I'm not looking for us to get into an open meeting law violation, but I don't think it's really a committee. I think it's a working group. And as for, being too tough, being not tough, we haven't even had a meeting yet. So I don't want to predetermine what people are going to do. What I can tell you from looking at what other communities do, they don't say, you will do this, but you won't do that. You can't do this, but you will do that. They do specify preferences. And again, it's a policy. We don't want it to be secret. The whole purpose of developing a policy is so that they know what to expect. And it's also for the board to know what to expect when they come in. Because frankly, I've been through 3 of them and none of them look the same. And I don't think that's a good thing. When Eastland Partners came in, we had 3 or 4 public meetings. When Wallace Ave came in, we decided one. I don't think we should just be willy-nilly deciding how many meetings we have. I think these are very important. The residents need to be heard, and we are elected to kind of listen to them. So, I mean, I certainly take to heart anybody's comments, but I'm certainly not looking to decide one way or the other. And it's going to come back to the board. So if it's not a good policy or the board doesn't like what's written, you change it. I mean, we're not delegating it to this working group committee, whatever we want to call it, and say, hands off. We're looking to create it. But if people still have questions, we can certainly hold it to the next meeting, and I'm willing to talk or hear ideas how we can do it differently. I'm not hard and fast on any which way. I just think we need the staff input, and I think we need board's input. I chose these particular boards because they were in a lot of the proposals that are already adopted. So, that's why I chose those. That doesn't mean that's the only boards we can keep. We can certainly, I'd like to see somebody from the chamber or the business community as well on this committee so that they can give us the builder perspective of what is reasonable, what isn't reasonable. I don't think it should just be a group of electeds and staff members deciding. I think we want to have a broad basis of a committee. But I'm happy to hold it if people are concerned or they have other things they want to bring up, and we can certainly continue the discussion.
So, yeah, go ahead.
If I may suggest, I would prefer to have a discussion with CMRPC, with Adam, to see what other communities, how they formed a working group or a committee to address something similar to what you're asking. At least that will give us a sense as to what the composition is, who's made up of that, is it an internal group, is it a committee, is it whatever. Give us an opportunity to fish the pond and see, what other communities are doing. And maybe that can offer some guidance for the board.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. Thank you for the suggestion.
So I do think everything is different. Every project's going to be different, but they still fall within certain parameters. And I think, again, if we're looking to address the parameters in general, and then each one can get worked through on an individual basis. But we have seen, traffic concerns and those things are very consistent. So, even if it's a guideline of saying, hey, we should look at these items, I think it will help. And then the consistency to maintain. And then I think the negotiation happens after those items have been discussed or addressed. And I think having one meeting and not having all the information probably doesn't help the community as well. So if there were some parameters around it, and again, I hate to say more than one meeting, but if these items are discussed at that meeting, at least it had an opportunity to be raised. And I think that's what I would envision, a working group to create some sort of guidelines or policy, if you will, around that.
I understand the concerns by the chair. I mean, if the policy or whatever it is developed suggests that a comprehensive traffic study be done in advance and provided to the town, the developers may not want to jump through that hoop in advance of knowing whether or not an LAP is going to be considered or approved. And to that extent, they may take a shortcut and say, we're going directly to the state. We don't want the expense. We don't want, not knowing how that's going to be forged could create some concerns and issues.
Well, I think we create committees or working groups so that we can work through these problems. Sitting here and throwing dots at what could happen, what might happen, what they might do, we spent a year negotiating with a guy on Perry Place, and he walked away. So we had no policy then. We didn't get the result we wanted. Let's not predetermine, just like on the wage theft, let's not predetermine what the outcome is. Let's investigate it and come up, let's look at what the other community, I think your idea with CMRPC is great. But again, we've had 3 of these. There's other open land that, is up for sale. And I, for one, don't want to be sitting here saying, well, what can we ask for? What can't we ask for? What do we want to do? Every board, any land use board, has policies. The town has policies. We have a general bylaw, we have a regular bylaw. People don't like that we only allow 4 pets, but town meeting voted for it. So, you know, we're not gonna get acclamation from every developer who walks in the door. Some are gonna prefer to go the direct route because that suits their purposes. Other people want to work with us. You know, I think the Wallace Ave guy has been pretty outstanding with how he's worked with us. So I'm very glad of that. But again, I don't want us to get mired down in details because that's why we're creating the working group, to try and figure it out. And if at the end of the day, the board decides they don't want the policy or they think the policy is too strict, guess what? We can vote it down. That's what we do. So just let's not create all the goblins out of the closet before we've even started anything. And I think it would be better for the staff, it's going to be better for the board, and it's going to be better for the residents. And I think, you know, my big push for this is I want the residents to have a good experience. I want it to look and feel relatively the same no matter what it is. Every development is different. Anybody who served on a land use board knows that. But as you say, Mr. Chambers, there are commonalities. Traffic is always going to be brought up. Watch a planning board meeting. If you want to put up a hot dog stand, the first thing that people are concerned about is how much traffic. And then you get a traffic engineer and he tells you 50% automatically is passed by traffic. You don't even have to worry about it. But I think this is a worthwhile thing, but let's investigate it. I think CMRPC is a good idea. I appreciate everybody's concerns. But
So, would you like a vote for us to take it to CMRPC, or?
I proffered that as an option. Certainly, I'll take the board's guidance on that. That may offer some interesting suggestions, so.
So I'll make a motion to hold this item to allow the town manager time to investigate and have those discussions with CMRPC and bring back to us the framework for what other communities have done that will allow us to pursue this.
can I request a friendly amendment that it be by the August meeting? Because I don't want this to slide into the abyss.
You're being nicer than I am. I was going to do by the July meeting.
Well, then I'm happy
I'll
to
make
do
it
that too.
by the July 22nd meeting. Give us about a month and
I will second
a
that.
couple weeks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We're moving to our second set of public comments. Is there anybody signed up? Did we grab the sheet?
Daniel signed up.
And he's already left. Okay. We'll just check to make sure. Just Dan. Okay. There are meeting minutes from the April 29th in our packets. Are there any corrections? Seeing none, I will accept them as read. We would just need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair is a yes as well. We are adjourned.